Hi everyone, Pat Dougherty here with your tennis IQ topic, 10 Traits of Greatness. This piece is inspired by a conversation I had when I was traveling with Nick on a plane, and we were thinking back at the history of the academy, and I said, Nick, what when you look back at the kids that really made it to the upper echelon and made a great living in tennis, what made them set themselves apart from the big masses of groups when they were really young? What gave you that indication that they had something special that most kids don't have? And so from that, we created this list of 10 things that we found that were pretty fundamental, meaning they were in common traits amongst the majority of those kids that made it through. They aren't all the best at each one of them. Some are better at some of these points than others. Some are points that you can focus on and start to work on and change your perspective about competition and so forth. Let's start with the first one, passion to compete. If you take the developmental model I talked to you earlier in this curriculum about, where you're focusing on your skill proficiency first and allow that time to lead into habit development that you're very confident with, that you have the skills it takes to compete successfully, that confidence is going to transition you to a passion to want to compete. It makes sense at that stage. So be careful about letting ratings and rankings get too much in the forefront before you can get through that process. But the great ones always saw the next match as an opportunity to prove themselves, to improve, and an opportunity to learn if they lose. So you don't want to let this in your mind come across as a threat to your rating and your ranking every time you step on the court. You'll never get past those barriers to reach your potential if you do. No fear of losing. This stems from recognizing and acknowledging when you're getting outplayed. And if you've got a good game plan in place where you're not sabotaging your own efforts by making way more errors than succeeding, giving away matches, if you're legitimately getting outplayed, there's no embarrassment in that performance. Matter of fact, that's your greatest learning opportunities, or one of them at least, to pay attention, stay engaged, see what they're doing that you can incorporate. And when you start to realize that not every loss needs to result in a big blow to your confidence, that fear of losing can start to diminish in your favor. Destined for greatness. This comes back to a video that ESPN asked me to shoot with Sharapova when she was about 10 years old. And they gave me a list of about 3 questions. And one of them was, Maria, do you see yourself as the next Steffi Graf or Monica Seles, who were 1 and 2 at the time? And she immediately looked at me, and not in an arrogant way, said, no, I see myself more as the first Maria Sharapova. I'm going to see where that can take me and what that can do. And I think as things worked out, now that she's retired and done extremely well, I think becoming the first Maria Sharapova worked out okay for her. But it's not about really emulating always and trying to be like somebody else. It's tapping into yourself, knowing yourself, and growing that. Again, Maria, self-driven work ethic. That girl was out at the courts on the stadium court at 4:45 in the morning, doing jump ropes, getting warmed up for the arrival at 5 o'clock of her coach. I don't think her dad or anybody had to get her out of bed. I think she was so driven, she played 7 days a week, honestly. So you can sit back and dream about being great, but the truly great ones that reach that and realize that goal, wake up early and work hard as they can every day to achieve that dream. Supremely confident. You know, Venus Williams, some people say I have an attitude. Maybe I do, but I think you have to. You have to believe in yourself when no one else does. That's what makes you a winner right there. And I think that's a powerful statement, because when those girls were growing up, they didn't play the national tournaments past about 12 or 13 years old. They pulled out of all the junior events and they focused on creating a game for the pros, and then they started on that journey around 14 or 15. So everybody thought their dad was crazy taking them on that route. Oh, they'll never make it doing it this way, and he proved everybody wrong. So much like people telling Nick that you'll never make it with a tennis boarding school, that just fueled his fire to get up early and work 18 hours a day to make sure that he could prove them wrong. Fight for every point. This is a big one where you can really shore up a lot of things without having to improve your skill set at all. Just improve your effort level and your focus, planning each point and bringing your very best to every point, and not starting points until you're prepared to do so. You know, Vince Lombardi here, winning is not a sometimes thing, it's an all the time thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do things right just once in a while. You do them right all the time. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, though, so is losing. So your efforts to win is really more important, focusing on the performance than always being measured by the outcome. Just keep that in mind. The great players aren't so self-focused that they don't pay attention to what's going on and analyzing their opponent, gathering that knowledge they need to be able to anticipate more effectively, looking for predictable patterns, tendencies, favorite choices under pressure. They're aware of those things and they use it to their advantage. So you got to pay attention to that too. The great ones, you can want to win, but you can get punched in the nose one time and realize it's not going to happen. But the ones who find a perspective on refusing to lose, to never give up, are very resourceful competitors that come up with alternative ways to get the victory when their initial game plan isn't paying off for them. So you want to have that resilience and resolve to stay in the fight and figure it out. Skilled at covering the court. Movement is the most dominant strength tennis players can have. It can be featured in every point. The great competitors look to showcase their movement. They can't wait to show you every opportunity that they can cover every inch of court, defend it well, and are willing to run every ball down. Resistant to being forced. Forced errors comprise the majority of outcomes at higher level matches. So that translates into you've got to become a better competitor that's more difficult to break down and force into errors than the players you're playing against. So this comes back to athletic foundation qualities, working on the movement techniques, the footwork, so that you're not easily forced into errors. And recognizing that will take you a long way. So there's a few things to think about, guys. Best of luck working on it.